Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of Sketch Watch Play. I am John Fleury.
I'm Christopher Wade.
I'm Ben Reynolds.
And we have another first-time guest, not just the return of Chris as a regular co-host, but a friend of ours both and fellow artist, Ben Reynolds. I'll just get this out of the way real quickly, then we can get to know Ben a bit better. If this is your first time listening to us, actually since the last recording, I've added to a bunch of different platforms. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and generally most apps that have like general podcast directories. We're syndicated through Libsyn, and they seem to have a pretty good reach in terms of like searching and podcast apps. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook under the account Sketch Watch Play, one word. And I just wanted to say that we're going to be pushing this from now on. We are very open to audience feedback or listener feedback. You can leave comments on Twitter, tweet at our account, leave comments on our Facebook page, and if you want to directly email us, you can send them to me at Behonkis, BEHONKISS @gmail.com. Now, first off, welcome Chris back to the fold. That was his Christmas present to me, I think, saying, "Hey, when are you done with guest hosts again? Because I'm ready to be back on." And we recorded that episode nearly 2 months ago, but better late than never. And I think Mark's guest appearance talking Final Fantasy and some other stuff was a good way to fill the gap. But Ben, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your interests, your projects. What do you think our audience would like to know about you best?
Okay. I am a 2D animator, primarily in Flash. I've been drawing pretty much all my life, like nonstop. I've always been into animation and video games and stuff like that, like, good nerdy stuff like that.
Yeah, you have a very I mainly know you through Twitter, and you have a really fun style. Like there's a partial manga influence, but it feels like a cool mix of Eastern and Western sensibilities.
Yeah, it's sort of like a cartoony anime.
Well, I just saw a recent tweet from you. One of your favorite movies is Dead Leaves.
Oh, yeah.
I've only seen clips of that. I've only seen clips of that, but that is like there are not a lot of anime that is not a standard anime look. So, but I can kind of see how it influenced a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm really into anime that like apes American stuff, which is really kind of backwards, I guess.
They can be good. Are you a Panty and Stocking fan?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's one that with the awesome visual style that was apparently very Western influenced.
Stalking Imaishi.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Like him and all the Studio Trigger guys.
That's right. He went on to Trigger. I need to watch their stuff.
A lot of old school Gainax stuff. Before like the big anime influence takeover, I was like a super duper big Warner Brothers guy.
Oh, like Looney Tunes or
yeah,
that classic stuff. I mean, I can tell you right now, it's not Looney Tunes, but I was big into the 90s Spielberg era with Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, and stuff. We talked Freakazoid on one of our first episodes too.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff was a big influence.
Yeah, and they were in turn obviously very influenced by Looney Tunes, so it all circles back. What are some of the projects that you've worked on that people can find online? So
I have an animated series called Slash, where there's currently 2 episodes online on YouTube right now, and Newgrounds.
Yeah, I actually saw the first one years ago before I knew you on Newgrounds. I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Oh, really?
This is cool. Yeah. I haven't watched the second one yet, but I remember thinking the first was a fun time.
Yeah, I think there was like a 3-year gap between episodes or something like that.
I'm guilty of longer gaps.
If you thought I like dropped off the face of the earth or something.
No, I remembered it when I discovered your account because I think you were recommended as a friend of Chris, and I was like, "Oh, I remember that." Yeah.
Trust me, I feel you on the gaps too, dude. It's a thing.
I'm making my first Wario episode in like 5 years, and I even like one of the opening jokes is them poking fun at that. Animation's hard.
Yeah, I remember at the time of the first one, I was like, I might try to do one of these like every couple months or something. And
Well, you're also I know it's mentioned in your Twitter profile. You're involved in animations for another company.
Yeah. So my day job is at a company called Ningio. And what they do is we do training videos on how not to get hacked, and they like stop people and companies on a subscription basis. Right. So they're kind of like really they're more a little bit more anime influenced than my normal stuff, just because I think that's
they have you more of a schedule for it. I'm guessing so.
Yeah, I do one of those a month.
Wow.
Actually. Yeah. And for the longest time, it was just by myself. But we recently got a second animator to help me out, so it's not so crazy anymore.
I would so do that if I had the money. You get a lot more spacious that way. Yeah. I'll just drop it real quick. In terms of stuff happened since last recording, I did finally get the first spacious short on YouTube in Newgrounds, and I'm not trying to make.
Saw that.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to make fun of me. I just remembered. That was. I'll just be real quick. It was really, really, really sweet to finally do something with those guys. Reception seems to be generally positive. I am actually taking some of the feedback I got on Newgrounds into not even consideration. I'm going to do some art design tweaks. As some guy was saying, like, man, I really don't like how these characters look, but I love the writing. And I'm like, well, that's better than saying you didn't like any of it. But I was going to say, go ahead, Chris.
I noticed that when I was having trouble like animating in Flash, that I went and did like a brief like animation, or I paid for an animation coach to help me out a little bit in that. You probably heard of him. His name is like Howard Wimhurst.
I feel like you brought him up on. Was that when you did the Raichu animation?
Raichu animation, yeah. And that helped a lot. So if you're looking to like beef up your skills a little bit, there's nothing wrong with like getting someone else to like take a second pass at your work and give you some advice.
Very true. But I do not want to make this about me. But Ben, what was it called, Ninjio?
Yeah, Ninjio, like ninja, which is really.
I did skim through a little bit of it, and it actually has.
That, I ended up working for a ninja themed company.
It's up your alley.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I was going to say I actually look at a little bit of them. And for training videos, they still have a very nice like style to it. I feel like
one of our things was like to keep them really different from everything else.
Yeah,
because the idea is like you want people to watch them, so they want them to be as interesting as possible.
Yeah, there's not a feeling of like bland or like you guys actually put some genuine effort into it, and I think it shows. And I think that's a very smart move. Mm-hmm. And so you can find links to Chris Lash and Geo and a lot of the other fun like drawings and quick animations Ben does on. Where can people find you online, like your Twitter or other websites?
So I'm on Twitter at what am I at DaiconV.
Spell that for people who aren't familiar with that term, please.
DAICONV.
All right.
I'm on YouTube, youtube.com/DaiconV, I think.
Okay, so try searching username DaiconV on Google and such, and they'll find a lot of your work.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So
are you still connected to the Channel Federator network at all, Ben?
Well, technically I am, but I haven't really heard anything from them in a while. So I'm still a partner. And
they had to reduce some of their services because of the new YouTube partner parameters.
Right. I heard about that. Okay. I remember now. All right.
I was lucky I think I'm staying because of those viral grandma videos. You needed like 1,000 subscribers and a certain amount of watch time. And I think those saved my channel. I still don't make much money or any money outside of those videos, but hey.
Yeah, I don't really make anything on YouTube.
Yeah,
and I almost like totally forgot I was partnered. I haven't really, because I don't have a lot of subscribers either.
No, so. I actually haven't done much with Federator outside of working on their Pokemon Gen 2 collab, which is not done yet. But I did. If you look at my channel, you can see the Don Fan animation I did for that, and I'm drawing Skarmory.
Mm-hmm.
So. Before we move on, anything else you want to say about your profile work or what people should look up, Ben?
I'm also on Newgrounds right now. I've been working on this game that's supposed to be a short RPG that was going to be a breather between.
That's right.
Between Slash episodes. Yeah, and I thought it would be a thing that just took a couple of months, and I would get back to animating. And I'm still not done yet.
Making games is hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, and doing animation is hard. And it's way harder than doing animation.
And also, I mean, not to beat it beat a dead horse, but it kind of also is kind of hard when you have like a full-time job. So I know
that makes it really hard.
Welcome to my world.
People are making excuses like, animation's hard. Too bad I have a job, but it is kind of tough to juggle.
My problem is like some nights I'll spend all day animating, and then I have to come home and try to like animate more.
I've been devoting a lot of weekends to animating.
That's what I've been doing too.
Sometimes you can see me tweet like, all right, that's like a whole afternoon devoted to Toon Boom. Maybe I should give myself a little break.
And I used to have more of a structured schedule. but I just kind of like squeeze it in whenever I get a second. I'm like, oh, I can animate right now, and I run upstairs.
That's me. Plus, when I feel like I'm up for a long session of that, because sometimes you're just burnt out, and you're just like, no, just give me my PS4 or something.
Yeah.
Or give me some Netflix, which ties into what we're talking about later. But so there were three things we agreed that we were going to talk about. One main topic we always say, obviously we save for the bulk of the episode at the end, and one game. But one, so we're going to talk a game that me and Chris have played. But first, we're going to talk a show that Ben has watched that is very new, which is Altered Carbon.
Your body is not who you are. You shed it like a snake sheds its skin. You transfer the human consciousness between bodies to live eternal life.
I kind of marathon that. I think I'm on episode 7 of 10.
Mm-hmm. And what are your general impressions so far?
I was really impressed, actually. I saw the trailer, and I feel like the trailer makes it look like a worse show than it actually is.
In what way? Like it's generic or cheesy or something?
Yeah, it didn't... It seemed like, I don't know, the trailer just seemed weird, and I was like, eh. But it's actually, it's like what I wish I had gotten from the original Blade Runner, where it's a little bit more fun. Like, it's still sort of like a dystopian future, but the technology and the world building and everything.
Yeah, I am hearing some Blade Runner comparisons from what little I know about it.
Yeah, and I'm, like, I know it's blasphemy to say this, but I'm not a huge fan of the original Blade Runner.
Oh, then I'll join you. I actually don't like it, but I think I'm just the wrong audience for it because it clearly has a following.
Because I always thought it would be like this detective noir thing, and it's
more abstract than that.
Yeah, whereas Altered Carbon is more of like a noir kind of thing.
Nice. So it's kind of what if people just tell you the basics of Blade Runner, it's what you think that would be instead of what it actually is.
Yeah.
Chris, were you trying to say something?
There you go. I thought you were I'm very disappointed in both of you
for not liking Blade Runner.
How could you do this to me? Stab me in the heart. I thought you were my friends.
Apologies, man. I think
no, don't be a don't.
And to be fair, I feel like we're in a minority.
Yeah,
I can't lie about it.
Yeah, there's a couple other really big movies that people like that I don't even want to say what they are. That I'm kind of like, eh.
I know I have some that I just can't remember at the moment. Oh, no, I remember my other big one, Big Lebowski. Can't get into it.
Oh, that's the first I've ever heard of that.
I know. It's another thing. It's a little too meandering. I normally love Coen Brothers, though it has a lot of great acting in it. But let's not make this about pissing off movie fans. So what is Altered Carbon about?
Okay, so in the future, when they figure out that they can like download your consciousness into what they call stacks, which are these little circle things that you can like have implanted into your neck. So because of that, they just refer to bodies as sleeves, and the idea of like identity isn't really a thing. Like you just
not physical identity.
Yeah, if you have money, you could just buy like a new sleeve and kind of live forever. Whereas if you're poor, if you get in a car accident or something, you have bad insurance, you might get like put into a grandma or something. Like they kind of just arbitrarily give you another sleeve.
Yeah, so if you see like a supermodel, that means that person's probably rich.
Yeah, basically. So the premise is this guy comes back and he's like this badass from another time period. And the guy that brought him back wants him to solve his own murder. He's like, somebody murdered me, and I need you to solve and figure out why. I think that's the best explanation I can give without giving too much away.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's a twist-heavy show, being a mystery.
Yeah. I would say the one flaw it has is because it's only 10 minutes. I mean, 10 episodes.
Oh,
is the first like 2 or 3 episodes are like a real information dump where they're just like you could tell they don't have a lot of time to set up the whole world. So there's a lot of really fast talking about like the technology and stuff like that.
So
but after they get that out the way,
rushed.
Yeah, after that's out the way though, it's pretty good.
Okay. Now I know if I watch it, I'm not feeling the beginning. I'll keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost gave up on the first episode, and I'm glad I didn't.
Does it at least have like does it have some good like creative visuals to back up the writing?
Yeah, it really is influenced by Blade Runner. Like I didn't think that was a bad thing. I liked it a lot. There are some shots though that are pretty close. Like they have a lot of like the misty neon and like the busy streets, and you could almost mistake a shot from it from Blade Runner.
I gotta be honest. Before I saw Blade Runner, I kind of envisioned it looking a lot like Akira.
Yeah.
Which I definitely prefer overall. But what are some other interesting things you can tell us about, like characters, actors, or without getting spoilery, other interesting elements of it?
I think it's interesting that it's pretty diverse, and it's like
In its casting, or
well, in the way that the world is built, where like like if you're a black person and you go into a white sleeve, it kind of like if you get 3 or 4 sleeves, by the end of it, you might speak 4 languages or something.
Oh, can people jump between multiple sleeves if they have them?
Oh yeah, if they can afford them, yeah.
Okay.
So like there's a thing where like characters will be speaking in multiple languages for like a brief period because you assume they've like been in a situation where they had a different sleeve and they had to live somewhere where they had to speak that language, and like because of that the lifespans are longer, so everybody has, I guess, a broader experience with different cultures.
Okay, so it sounds like they take the concept to influence how this world and characters work in like meaningful ways.
Yeah, I definitely noticed it. I was like, I really like that.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And any recognizable names in it, or
I cannot remember the actor's name, but there is the show The Killing, if you've seen that.
Heard of it.
I cannot remember the guy's name, but he is the guy. He's the other detective that wears the hoodie all the time. He's the star of it.
Okay, cool. And Chris, have you heard anything about this show? Anything you want to add?
I have not. This is the very first time I've ever heard about this show. So after coming off of shows like Black Mirror and Ghost in the Shell, it sounds like something I'd be down for.
Yeah, would you say it falls into the cyberpunk genre, Ben?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, that's something I'm certainly.
I like that they call it. They have their guns that they refer to specifically as energy weapons. Huh? I really like that.
Do they fire lasers?
Yeah, nice. Laser-like things.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty cool show. So you'd recommend random people based on what you've seen of it?
Yeah, so far I'm 7 out of 10. So unless there's like a ridiculous ending or something.
Yeah, the ending gets sour a bit, but you said the bulk of it is still something you'd recommend for.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of the first 7,
I would say like unless the comparisons, like the similarity to Blade Runner, unless that bothers you, like I would say it's a really good show.
Okay, Chris, would something being similar to Blade Runner bother you, or would you like appreciate that?
Sweet. I mean, like I joked earlier, I haven't seen Blade Runner, but I mean, hearing something like this, I'm always down.
Wait, you haven't seen Blade Runner?
Twice. Like I'm just joking with you guys. I guess you didn't hear that.
I'm so mad at you for not liking this movie I've never seen.
Yeah, I said.
Did you see 2049?
2049? No, I haven't seen it. Unfortunately.
Apparently, it did a good job of living up to the original. For the most part.
Yeah, I actually like that one a lot.
Oh, I should watch it then.
Yeah, it's
I was like, I remember being like, man, even if the reviews are good, it's probably because it's similar to the original, so I don't know what's right for me. But to be fair, I like that director's last movie. He did Arrival with Amy Adams.
Oh yeah, I like that a lot too.
Yeah, I redboxed that, and that was a solid film. So, and what's he doing now? He's doing something big, but I cannot. Is he doing Dune? I'm gonna look him up. Denis Villeneuve or something like that. And I'm looking up right now. Denis Villeneuve. He is doing. Guys, fill for me. Say something crazy in the meantime. Oh, I found it. He's doing a Dune remake.
Cool.
Wow.
Which I know that is a beloved book that people say the original movie is junk. But
that's what I always hear about Dune. So yeah, I'm super down.
We'll see if we can pull that off. So yes, we Ben recommends Altered Carbon, and the both of us are certainly interested by it. Now we're gonna turn the tables. We'll talk about something that me and Chris have been spending some time with, and we know that the two of us have been interested in it based on some past comments we made since its E3 announcement last year. Chris, how much time have you sunk into Dragon Ball FighterZ?
Oh yes, that's right. You lost to his son, didn't you? I do hate missing a good fight. It was when he was quite young as well. Do you really think you, who couldn't even handle his little brat, can handle Goku?
Remind me, who was it again who lost to Goku twice? Let me think. It wasn't me, so...
in not nearly as much time as I want to. I'm having a good deal of fun. Like, holy shit. Okay. I know we're going to go crazy about the animation and how fluid it looks.
It looks
and it's
great.
A game. I'm personally going through the story mode because everyone's going through the online matches. I know I'll get my ass handed to me.
Yeah, I tried online and that was exactly what happened.
Hey, I work full time. I don't play video games nearly as often as I used to as a kid, so I'm not even going to try doing that. But going into story mode, the whole because it's basically tutorials and it's like they section off plot beat. They section off parts of the plot where it's like cutscene, do a tutorial, cutscene, do a tutorial. And they map it up like it's a party game, so you get to choose what part of the board or what part of the map you get to go to.
Yeah, apparently that's kind of like Budokai 2 had a story mode like that, from what I've heard.
I gotta say, having the characters kind of interacting with each other as if it was fan fiction, kind of neat. I like seeing Vegeta and Piccolo like having actual dialogue with one another.
Yeah, no, my favorite thing about the story mode so far is those little asides, and a lot of them are it's optional because a lot of them depend on what your party is, because you unlock characters over time and you can make a custom party of 3 to take into battles because it is a tag team 3 versus 3 fighter, and certain matches you'll get different conversations based on who you have. And we've talked Dragon Ball a little bit in the past, mainly when you gave your thoughts on some of Super. And I know that between the three of us, actually, I don't know about Ben, but I know that Serena is probably the biggest Dragon Ball fan between me, Chris, and her.
Yeah, I'm a pretty huge one too.
Okay, then good. So
kind of ridiculous that I don't have this game or haven't played it.
I saw your tweets. You got Monster World instead, which I'm also hearing is great, or Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I kind of had to because I'm actively learning 4 other games, so I was like, I cannot add another fighting game.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because like every fighting game is like a whole
the whole exam.
Yeah.
That's why I don't play too many. I got to be very selective, and I'm not very good at them because I don't have time to master it. That said, I think Chris, you were aware that last year I loved Injustice 2, and the Ninja Turtles drop in like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm so excited. That's like the most excited I've ever been for a fighter DLC.
Yeah, the Turtles showing up is I gotta admit, I would like to get Injustice at some point, but the Turtles showing up, really cool move, guys.
All you need is. What makes me wonder if they do Injustice 3, we'll get the Power Rangers, or I don't know, because that is both of those that's Turtles is like full on not Warner Brothers connected at all. They're owned by Viacom at this point.
Yeah.
So that's cool. They worked out a deal with that. But Fighters, actually, I do want to say a really funny little story about how I went through way too much trouble to get my hands on this game, because first I rented it through GameFly, which I typically do for games I'm not 100% sold on buying. After a week, I realized it had gotten lost in the mail. Actually, no, I realized that very quickly because they typically arrive 3 to 4 days. But GameFly is always like, we can't report it lost until it's been a week. And I did. They sent some other games. It still hasn't arrived. And so I went to a great store. If anybody listening lives near Chantilly, Virginia, I recommend East Starland. They're a fantastic indie game store that sell both used and new games. And they're like the size of a warehouse. So they have like games from every generation and systems and accessories and merchandise. It's a gamer's like paradise. They also have great trade-in values. So I traded in like 6 games to get it because they said they had the PS4 version, and then they went, yeah, that was an error. We don't have it. And I was about to just leave. Then I walked by the Xbox One section and was like, oh, that's right. It is on Xbox One. I'll just get that. I'm so instinctively don't get games like that on Xbox because the 360 D-pad was so bad. But now the Xbox One's is fine. So, Chris, what are some other things you wanted to bring up about Fighters?
Admit, this game is quintessentially like everything you ever love about Dragon Ball.
Yes, it's very fan servicey in a good way.
Very fan servicey. It has, you can tell the animators really knew their stuff as far as really taking from the source material. You get to see moves they've done. You get to see how they act on camera. Oh my god, it's down to the phrasing of their voices and
how it makes sense because Dragon Ball is like a cultural institution over there. Like it is one of the most dear cartoons. So it wouldn't surprise me if most of the development team grew up reading and or watching it. But this still feels like the most labor of love out of the Dragon Ball games I've played.
It really does.
And
I feel like
it helps
we've
that
been
this
waiting
guys who
decades for like a Dragon Ball game like this to come out.
Yeah.
I played a lot of shitty ones.
Yeah, there have been some decent ones like the Budokais, but I think this is the one that like critics are like, this is the legit awesome fighting game regardless of the authenticity to the license. Mm-hmm. And Chris, you mentioned, are you playing it in Japanese or English?
Yeah, I'm going to out myself on this one. I'm actually playing it on Japanese, and I do love the Funimation cast. I love them to death. But there's something about hearing a whole bunch of voices at once, just like screaming attacks.
Goku's Japanese voice is crazy.
Yeah, it's like, all right. So I'm coming off of, I'm still playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it's notorious for having different people yelling at the same goddamn time.
Oh, that's all Xenoblade games.
Yeah, and that's, if you like that kind of thing, that's cool. It is not for me. So when I turn on Dragon Ball FighterZ and that's all I'm hearing, it's like, for me it's super distracting. So I have to put it on Japanese. So
they're yelling stuff. So they're yelling gibberish and you don't pay attention to it.
That's exactly it, and it works for me. Now I'm not a weeb. I'm not going to say I'm a weeaboo prude who's just like, I always prefer the Japanese over the English version and everything. Yeah, that's totally not me.
That's a redneck voice. That's not a weeaboo voice.
Oh, holy shit. It really was.
I'm going to go watch some animes.
Yeehaw. Put on my
waifu.
Getting a robot.
Pumping a shotgun, getting in their pickup truck. The new volume of Sword Art Online is all. Yeah.
It is like, not
shooting
excuse
there.
Me, it is not called the Destructo disc. There is an actual terminology to it.
I actually know that's called Kienzan disc. Fair warning, like just a admission, I haven't really seen any of Dragon Ball in Japanese, but I remember back when it was airing on Toonami, finding websites that would talk about the changes in the localization, like what was censored for TV, what was changed in the dub outright. So
like being sent to another dimension.
Oh man,
talk about like to another dimension all the time.
Looking back at the fact that they tried originally putting DBZ and Dragon Ball on like kids syndication, that's a dumb move. Like just. That show's too violent for like little kids to be watching, and they had to censor to a point where it was just ridiculous.
Really tried. Though.
Do you remember like Vegeta and Nappa blow up a city and say something like, "It's too bad all those buildings were evacuated"? The best one, there's like a jet trying to attack them, and they blow it up, and Tien off screen just yells, "Look, I can see their parachutes. They're okay."
Is knowing there are people like Team 4-Star who do Dragon Ball Bridge.
Yeah.
And they parody that. They parody that where it's like the Nappa obviously blows up a helicopter and someone was like, "Oh no, he blew up that helicopter full of boxes and those boxes were full of people."
Oh boy!
But there's no getting around that.
Yeah, no, but the thing I wanted to say about, because we talked about one of the best things, like the story mode's setup and the way it plays is very unorthodox, and I'm still not 100% sure I feel about it, because I like the idea of like the fact that you're leveling up your characters. You have to be strategic about swapping them both to level them up and so they can heal, and like each turn the other CPU teams level up, so there's a risk reward thing there. But the main gimmick that sets it up is very strange, where I guess the idea is that you are technically playing as this soul from another dimension. Speaking of that, and the idea is that I guess it's caused by Android 21, the new main villain. Not only has she resurrected Frieza and Cell, which he's made a bunch of soulless clones of all the main fighters and is wreaking havoc, and she's set off some worldwide like energy waves that have sapped all the fighters of most of their strength. And the idea is this soul has to like share the body with them, and that's the only way they get their strength back. And it worried me in the beginning because you're playing as Goku and he's not talking, and I'm like, why? I miss Goku, being a dope like he is. And thankfully, really quick, once you like the soul learns to switch other characters, they're all talking and it's all the voices and personalities.
Luckily that gimmick doesn't wear out its welcome too much. At least
it would have if whoever you're playing as was mutant cutscenes, but they get rid of that real quick. And just talking about like So I mentioned that I haven't really this is my first deep dive into Dragon Ball since Z ended. Other than watching Battle of Gods about a year ago, I have not watched Super yet. So it is kind of cool to just be reacquainted with the characters, and it got me thinking about like Super and that in general. How rare is it where you do your first new entry in a cartoon franchise in decades, and it's not a reboot?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a legit continuation.
That shows Dragon Ball's like lasting power in its fans. Like they don't want to like just hear the same story again or like start over with different things. Like no, because that was the thing they already did in Z was that the characters aged. You know, Goku and Chi-Chi start out as kids, and they're like middle aged, raising a grandkid by the time this goes around. So same with characters like Bulma or Yamcha, and just funny little things. Some of the jokes they make do seem a little meta. Like Yamcha's become such a memed character because I think one of my biggest problems with Z in writing is how worthless the non-Saiyan Piccolo guys are in fights. And you get a lot of like them ribbing Yamcha and hints that he's kind of a little insecure about how he doesn't stack up to them. Chris, did you see any of those?
A few of them. I've been trying to
use Yamcha's dramatic finish against Nappa because apparently that's like a nice wink nudge.
There are a couple. There are a couple of the dramatic finishes.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say I heard a rumor that Yamcha is actually the best character in the game.
He's my favorite one that I've got unlocked so far. I'm mainly sticking to the story mode, so I can't really speak for. There's some I'm really curious to try in like the arcade mode and stuff. Because I think you unlock almost everyone because they find a way to like make it so you have to team up with the villains later on. Like I saw a clip where I think Frieza, Cell, and Ginyu and Nappa have to, if they want to get all their full strength back, they have to work against Android 21.
I have noticed that swinging back towards Yamcha, that the game definitely plays on strategy, but what your play style is. Like we all know Goku's the strongest that there ever was and ever will be in this in this franchise. Mm-hmm. But the game's like, no, fuck that. If you're a good fighter, you can beat anyone on this. You can beat anyone in this game. Like,
and I think that's why that's part of what drives that soul idea, which is that I think the idea is that whoever it possesses is kind of on the same level as whoever else it possesses. So, and I think there are even parts where like Yamcha saying, "Should I be helping?" Like, yeah. Like they're encouraging everyone to help out. Since we need all the help we can get.
I am finding that there are some things that I wish that I'm hoping that they'll fix, but I'm not competitive in this arena, so fuck what I say. But like when you're slammed into a corner, I wish that there was a way you could get out of the corner.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if there is. It is so easy, especially online, to just get pinned, and I have no idea what I should be doing. I think there are some sort of cancel moves, but I'm like. It's interesting because there are parts of it that are very complex and parts of it that are very accessible. Like combos can often work by just tapping the same button over and over and then ending it with a heavy. And of course you have like, you can do super strong versions of attacks that use up a super bar. And then you have supers that take up 1 meter and then ones that take up 3. They're like the most powerful moves. And even like the tag team, they do the Marvel thing of like tapping a button will have someone show up to help you attack, and holding it full on switches them. And I actually just found out that you can do one of your supers and then switch them then to do a super of their own and transition to them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's definitely like Marvel versus right there.
Yeah, they also incorporate the quick teleporting. Did you know about that?
I've definitely seen that in videos.
Yeah, they do the kind of entry transmission style, and you go right behind them automatically.
Wastes a bar, like a power gauge.
Yeah, you can't spam it.
Yeah, you can power up to 7 as your maximum, and you take off 1 once you use it. But it's definitely useful. I really like the game. I'm having fun.
Yep, and just just 2 other things I want to touch on. Probably my biggest gripe with it is it is way too dependent on its online functionality with the lobby stuff. Like
I don't like.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of loading time screens in this. Even when you're just playing story arcade mode, but also every time you have to go back to lobby. I hope they patch in an offline like option at some point. I don't know what happens if you play it not connected to Wi-Fi, but you have to go to this lobby to accessing the modes. And the idea is you have like your little avatar of a character running around. You can interact with others there and be like, hey, you want to do a match and stuff like that, or do like text chat. It's kind of superfluous, and when I first started playing it, the first time I set up servers, it can be very iffy in terms of reliably connecting you to a server, which is very annoying. And Go ahead.
So what I've noticed, Ben, is that you know how like in typical fighting games, you start the game, you go right to a menu, and it's like choose your character or choose your title or story mode or whatever, right? So in Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's like we got to search for a server before you can do all that,
And then load it.
Oh, you know what else does that? Is Guilty Gear does that.
Really?
You have like a little guy that has to walk around.
Is that the same developer?
Yeah, it is.
Our system works. Don't do that,
Yeah,
guys.
that's like the thing that makes me not play Guilty Gear because I'm like,
It is really annoying.
I just
It's
want
like,
you to like pair me with people so I can keep playing.
Yeah, it's like the parts where you're
walk to a room and find
it's like
people.
the parts where you're actually playing the game are awesome, and then the parts where you're transitioning between areas suck, and that shouldn't be something that has to suck. So I'm hoping if they ever do a sequel or whatever those guys do next, they'll do a much more streamlined and just make the lobby stuff optional. Just give me a title screen menu to get to those modes. And the other thing I want to talk about that I like is because I was talking about like how cool it was to reconnect with his characters. I think it's like the same cast that's working on Super, which is the vast majority of them are still the same guys from the original dubs and Kai. I noticed that Bulma and Frieza are different, but still good. And one of my favorite things, I even saw it online, I love the fact that this is, I'm sure it's happened in other stuff, but the fact that both Frieza and Cell are resurrected and kind of teaming up, but they so hate each other and are just constantly like roasting each other. I had seen a video, have you seen the one where they're arguing about who gets to fight Goku first and beat him?
I've seen that one.
And they're the way they're mocking each other is bringing up who failed. Like, Frieza's like, oh, well, who was beaten by not even Goku but his son? And then Cell's like, well, who got a chance to come back from the dead, fight Goku again, and still fail? Wasn't me. Because, like, those two are, like, I think, like, those are my favorite DBZ arcs in general, the Frieza and Android Cell stuff. Saiyan and Buu arcs are good, but not as good, I think. And I think that's fun. Like, they're fun villains because they're just so full of themselves in different ways. So it totally makes sense that if those two were butting heads, they would just be trying to tell the other how much they suck.
I gotta admit that I'm always for the Cell Saga because I do love the Cell Saga, but it's
a fun one.
Boo as a concept, but I don't like him as a character. Or rather, I like his design and I like all the stuff that he's able to do, but you kind of see just how little he provides for the plot.
It's the fact that when he's Fat Boo, he's just basically a big dumb kid, and then when he has a cool design when he's his true form, but he doesn't talk.
Yeah, it's just like he's just really strong and
really angry and cocky, and it's like there's not much to do to that, and his power is creative, but not as intimidating. I'm going to turn you into a cookie. Mm-hmm. Oh, though I love the fact that it's one of his supers in this game, and they actually went to the trouble of making like a different shaped cookie for every character.
I did notice that, and I think that's super cool. I do like. I love Boo's design. I love his concept, and I don't think he has a lot of range as a character himself.
No,
but I do love Android. Hold on.
Which one?
Ben, hold on. Ben, do you know about Android 21's alternate form yet?
I've definitely seen it. I've seen it all over the internet. Yeah. I'm not sure like how she does that, but
I think I read the idea is she was made later using like data from like every hero and villain, including Boo. So she has a form that's basically Majin.
Because when I first saw her, I thought maybe Boo eats her, and then that's how. But that makes sense.
That actually would have been more creative. Actually, I actually like that idea. Man, I do love that design.
It's cool.
When I saw that, I was like, man, I want to fight this person. She looks super fucking cool.
Okay, I gotta admit, I thought you were gonna say a different word that starts with F.
You know what's funny? Like, for a second, you blipped out when you were talking about Cell and Frieza, and you said, "Man, that time when Cell and Frieza." Goku. I was like, Goku? That's in the game?
I'm sure it's on Google.
Rena would love that.
I'm sure every combination of Dragon Ball game bangs is on Google or all those sites. I'm sure there's plenty of involving Android 21 now because any girl in Dragon Ball is going to get that treatment.
That's how it is, unfortunately.
And on that note,
yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be fan art of Majin or Bit. I love how goofy her regular outfit is because like checkerboard dress. But yeah, so I think we definitely both recommend FighterZ. Chris, just want to make sure you're enjoying it.
Yeah, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, if you're a fan of the Funimation version or the original version, it has a lot of great callouts to Super and like the original Saiyan sagas and Frieza
Well, it's
sagas.
basically a bunch of greatest hits from beginning of Z up to current Super. Like, I remember we were joking with Felipe back in the day who the deep crazy cuts were going to be, and they haven't really done that, though I know there's going to be DLC. I will say the one character that I have never heard of is Hit.
He's from Super.
Yeah, and the other Super characters I'd at least heard of, like I know who Goku Black is. I saw Battle of Gods, so I know Beerus. But I have not heard of Hit.
Yeah, Hit's pretty cool. I was kind of surprised he was in there.
He has a kind of Frieza-esque design. Like, if I just saw his design without knowing anything about him, I'd be like, is he another relative? Because we saw a bunch of, we saw his dad and his brother and stuff. Very evil family. And I will say one other touch is showing, like, some of the cuts, the choices they make. They do a good job of incorporating, like, if it's a character who's typically part of, like, a pair or a group, they'll incorporate the other characters into their special moves. I'm pretty sure Chaozu is in some of Tien's moves. 18, 17 will show up for some of her moves. And the best is Captain Ginyu. Like, all of his guys are popping up throughout his fights.
That's fun.
Which makes sense. Like, why would you have just Ginyu and not all his mythology So, yeah, a lot of cool nods to Dragon Ball, like mythology and iconography with what characters they picked and how their moves and personalities shine through. I think the story was a little strange, but it is kind of a clever way of giving it. Like, I've heard it can go. It's pretty long too because of its structure, though it is kind of repetitive. But the fact that you get all those character interactions, that's keeping me going, and the enticement of constantly unlocking more characters until you've got the full roster. I think beating it is the only way you unlock 21 for the other modes too.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing. So there's this part in the story mode where, and I'm not going to spoil it too much. There's a part where Android 21 is in her Majin form, and she meets Majin Buu, and that is I posted it on my Twitter, but that is actually a really adorable exchange. So,
what did they say?
Do you mind if I say anything about it?
I don't
want to spoil it for you.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, so essentially, I don't know how Android 21 becomes quote unquote good, but she's like super chill in this cutscene, and she's like, her and Majin Buu are getting ready to fight, like I guess a clone or something, and she's like, "Hey, so I'm wearing the same color as you are," and Boo's like, "Holy crap, you are! What does that mean?" And she's like, "I guess this means that we're friends." And Boo's like, "Sweet, I'm gonna make you candy," and she's like, "Great, I would love that very much." And that's it. It's the most fucking adorable thing.
Yeah, I mean, Boo is like he's a big kid, so it makes sense that his thought pattern to be like, oh yeah, it does mean that, sure. Did you see the cutscene of him talking to a Kid Buu clone?
I didn't actually, and I need to.
I had him and Goku, and so Kid Buu's, because I mentioned earlier, he doesn't talk, he just yells, and then Fat Buu screams back at him, and Goku's going like, whoa, you can understand each other? And, Fat Boo's like, no, we just don't like each other.
That's cute.
And they keep doing it until Goku goes like, shut up, let's just fight. Oh, same thing when he's about to fight Frieza and Cell. He actually gets tired of them arguing over who I'm going to beat him. He's like, can you just fight me together? Like, I noticed, I have gotten the vibe that from Super and like Battle of Gods onwards, they've kind of incorporated a more humorous edge to Dragon Ball, kind of like the original, which I welcome that. Obviously, Z could be more emotional because of its that, but it kind of harkens back to what I liked about the original Dragon Ball, because that's a very different beast from everything after it.
Yeah,
I also like how the nostalgia's attached to it too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Catching up with these old guys, like it's just been a couple of years, and they're still doing their thing, and most of the same voice and stuff. So, Chris, any last things you want to say about Fighters?
I think if you're interested in Dragon Ball, this is the game for you. If you're interested in the competitive scene, I'd say give it a rent. I'm not sure how far you'll get in it. A lot of people seem to really enjoy the competition of it, though. So go for it.
But like any fighting game, be prepared to get your ass handed to you on a regular basis online. Practice, practice, practice. So are you guys ready to move on to our big topic, originally requested by Ben?
Certainly.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right.
Wow. Thanks, everybody. It sounds like the mice did more than you, though. I punched Sendak! Yeah, apparently after I emerged from a coma and shot his arm off. We had a bonding moment. I I cradled you in my arms. Nope, don't remember. Didn't happen.
So we always, it's kind of, I want to say rule, but it's like we like to do, if we have a guest, we like them to be the one to pick. Like we have them throw a bunch of possessions at us, and then Chris and I say like what's one that us two are on for. And you picked one that I definitely been meaning to get into because I have heard nothing but good things about it, and considering some of the people behind it, I had good reason to be interested in it. So we're talking about the still ongoing at the time of this recording, Netflix original series, Voltron Legendary Defender, which I'm just going to real quick get through a little bit of history because I did a little looking up on Voltron in general, because I think most people are aware of Voltron in some form. It was kind of one of the first anime TV series to kind of establish itself in the US. Granted, it was one of those because it was like the infancy of anime dubbing, very heavily edited and rewritten. Originally, I know the original anime is called Go Lion, because it is a bunch of robot lions, and so Voltron would change the name of that, change the character names, apparently rewrote some of the, and apparently it was also, we talked about censorship in DBZ. This was that even worse. Now, first off, I did watch a little bit of the original, which wow, have either of you seen the original?
Yeah, I have, but I wasn't really a fan of the original.
It is cheesy as fuck.
Yeah.
They got a lot of people who did, cartoon voice acting in general. I think Peter Cullen's somewhere in there, as the narrator and stuff. And some of the voices are ridiculous. Pidge sounds like Meatwad, basically. I don't know. It's insane.
It does sound like Meatwad.
Yeah.
I'll keep low and out of sight. Besides, they wouldn't hit somebody with glasses, would they?
The character of Sven... who is talking like he's Dr. Scratch and Sniff, but he's like a stoic shonen hero in design. Like, oh yeah, ugly birds.
You're right, Keith. Let's put our heads together and work out an escape plan. Ugly birds.
I watched the first episode and I was laughing my ass off. It's so over the top and awkward. I have no idea, and I don't know. I'm guessing if I watched the Japanese version, there would still be some cheesiness, but nowhere on the same level. And that was a big show for 80s kids. It still has, a lot of people have a lot of fondness for it if they saw it as kids. So there were two other reboots / sequels. There was one called The Third Dimension, which I actually do remember seeing commercials for back in the day, in the mid-90s.
I used to watch that one, actually.
yeah, that I actually watched a little bit of the first episode on YouTube. It goes without saying, it's an early CG so the visuals are distractingly dated. I can't really speak for how it fares writing-wise. I didn't get far, but it does have a crazy voice cast. Billy West played Pidge in that.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
And Kevin Michael Richardson played Zarkon and, I think, Hunk. And actually, I think some of the others, they got back the original 80s actors, which is cool. And then after that, this is the one I know least about. I think it aired on Nicktoons or something 8 years ago, it was just called Voltron Force. This one was a fully American creation. Doesn't seem to have that much of. I never heard people talk about it. It didn't look painful, but it looked very run-of-the-mill mediocre in art style and writing.
I remember this. Yeah, this was not great.
Is that the weird Flash one?
I think it was. Yes, the lines were cel-shaded CG, much like they are in this, but nowhere near as good. I remember the episode I saw had to start with a clip of one of the villains taking in a pit of liquid. He would say something like, "This bath will heal my powers." So it's like, oh, well, you kept the over-the-topness of the original. I will say it has an amazingly bad intro song where it's like a weird kind of country-style rap, like Voltron. I'm not gonna.
I need you to play that in the middle of this podcast.
At least in the final episode, I will play it. I would have done the thing of setting up. Actually, let me see if I can. Nah, that would take up too much time. But yeah, trust me, it's a bad theme song. The show itself it probably has some fans. It doesn't seem like the worst, but it basically, I think all three of these previous Voltron shows were at best nothing special. But they had a following and some cool concepts and characters behind it. So I'm actually thinking that the reason this new show happened was now you guys noticed DreamWorks was one of the main production companies behind it, right?
Yes.
A couple of years ago, DreamWorks bought this company called Classic Media, which basically was the main company that now held the rights to a lot of older vintage cartoons that were not quite as relevant anymore, but people know of them. like the Jay Ward cartoons, Casper, stuff like that. So I think the reason they did the Mr. Peabody movie a couple years ago was because, like, we're not going to just sit on all these licenses. We can do some stuff with them. And
they got to use it or lose it.
Yeah, and that extends to TV as well. So they were like, let's do a new Voltron. And so what made me excited about this when I first heard was about some of the people involved, namely the animation studio, which is a Korean place called Studio Mir.
I'm familiar with them.
Yes, and for people who do not know their name, it's very likely you know a couple of their works. They were the main studio behind both Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra's animation, along with the last season of the Boondocks. And I had to write down two like wild cards: Lego Elves, like a girl's fantasy cartoon, and apparently they did an animated intro to that romantic comedy Think Like a Man. Yeah, I think I saw a clip of it. It was like talking about like cavemen or something, or like old, like it was like a black cast comedy. So they were talking about like old tribes hunting or something, and it looked great. Just a very random choice of a movie to use it in. Along with, and not just the studio, but a lot of the main producers and people on the American side of production were coming from Avatar and Korra. And I think those two shows are fantastic. So that did pique my interest of going like, yeah, I probably should give this a watch at some point. And it also, you can even kind of tell in the visual style, like Hunk is very Bolin looking. So that's the gist of it. And I will say, then of course, like the animation looks great as a result of their involvement. Because I don't know what their budget was for this. I get the sense it's probably not as much as Avatar and Korra because the action scenes aren't as constantly like, oh my god. But in general, like the character animation, the backgrounds, this is a nice looking show.
Yeah, I really didn't expect to be so in love with it the way I am.
I think a lot of people did, honestly.
Well, because of the people involved?
Well, not just that, because
because
like I was never really like I knew about Voltron as far as like pop culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like that Sprite commercial thing, but like I was never like I'm always like Thundercats and all these other properties from the 80s, but Voltron.
I read an article right before the show was coming out, or like a few months before it was, and it was like talking with the crew, and they were like, we're aware how cheesy and dumb the original could be, but we're going to expand on the best qualities of it. And I would say mission accomplished, because this is a great show.
It really is. They really did take all the great things that fans of Voltron remember, and they've maximized as much as they could from it.
Yeah, and added some cool stuff too in terms of some character motivations and backgrounds. Now, I did tell you guys before we started, you guys are almost completely up to date in terms of, because they released seasons pretty at a rapid pace, which we'll get to. I only had time to watch up to the end of the first season and then the first episode of season 2, because season 1 ends on a nasty cliffhanger to some degree. So I had to be like, maybe just a little more. I'm glad I did. There's some very fun stuff in that first season 2 episode. But what are some good things you guys want to talk about first and foremost with this show?
I wouldn't mind talking about the characters themselves.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do either of you have a favorite?
I really like Keith.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a personality exam. Your favorite character probably says a lot about you.
Okay, Chris?
I have to be honest. I mean, I like a lot of the characters from this show, except for Keith. But,
I do want to talk about a little more about Keith, but who would you say you like the most?
I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. I like Lance the best.
Actually. I knew you were going to say Lance.
That is my
now we have like a Lance Keith thing going right now.
Definitely.
I think I'm a toss-up between Pidge and Allura.
Those two are great characters too.
Yeah, those are definitely like.
And actually, thinking about it, I don't think it surprised me that I like Pidge, because he is the geeky tech. Well, we'll get to that. The geeky tech head of the group, and my favorite in Turtle was always Donatello, which is that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we even brought up my favorite Powerpuff Girl is Blossom, who is both the leader and dad. Like, I go for the geeks in the groups usually, because I kind of identify with that, even if I'm not into technology. And Allura is not that, but she's kind of like, I feel like she's kind of the mentor or leader as much as Shiro is, at least in the first season.
The commander, where Shiro is like the reigning,
he's
or
like
whatever.
The head of the soldiers, and she is their higher up basically, because she's the one with more experience in this whole conflict.
She has a lot at stake, and she's been through this war before. Like she knows of this war, so it's kind of personal for her. And
it's very personal for her. Her dad and planet and race are gone because of these guys.
One of the things I really like about the princess is how capable she is.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a try-hard thing either. It feels very natural, and that she is. It's kind of Princess Leia is. She is a war veteran.
Yeah.
Even though I think the idea is when the show starts, she is not. This is her first time in the fully commanding position because her dad's gone now.
She does have a lot of vulnerabilities, which I do like.
Yeah, in season 1, like when the dad AI goes crazy, it takes full advantage of her missing her home, like that.
Yeah, I thought the way she resolves that was like super hardcore, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, she had to hug the fake dad to death. You know that, like, this AI was the only thing she had left to connect with him, and but she knew to save us, you have to die, and I have to permanently lose my dad. Period. There is some heavy stuff in this show, even though it's not super reliant on like death or violence. And that's the thing my favorite thing about this show. It is like no bones about it. This is an action cartoon.
Yeah, definitely.
The majority of it does revolve around these different escapades that they have to do in terms of fighting the Zarkon's army and threats related to it. And there's certainly episodes where there are scenes that are like the downtime, and then that's, we get a lot more of the comedy and the character relationships. But I was surprised how devoted this show is to like both planning and then executing, and then often having to change of plans when things inevitably get wrong, like screwed up.
Really, yeah. So make no mistake.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I love it when their plans don't work and they just have to come up with something.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an episode where their plans go 100% smoothly like that, because that would be less interesting, and the writers know that.
It's very easy to kind of write this show off as like a second Korra or as a second like Avatar because of the designs and because of some of the mannerisms of the characters.
I feel like the humor is very similar. Yeah.
It is similar. Like it's easy to watch it and be like, oh, that guy's the Sokka.
Lance is Sokka with the asshole cranked up, and Hunk is kind of Bolin too.
And admittedly, that's what really kept me from watching it for a long time, because I was like, oh, it's going to be Korra with robots in space.
A little bit, but not completely.
Not completely though. It's I really feel like it is its own thing.
Yeah, it has. It does a good job of
setting. It reminds me a lot of a lot of the more modern Gundams.
Okay, yeah, it does. Despite not being an anime, it does have a kind of vibe to its action segments in terms of the pacing and intensity of it.
Feels like a goofy Gundam to me, honestly.
Yeah.
I need to watch more Gundam. It's been a long time.
I mean, and I don't want to say it's a goofy Gundam, like, hey kids, I got a Buster rifle, but at the same time, like they give their characters enough time to breathe and enough time to also have fun. There are some filler episodes I can honestly do without, and I just skip right over. But there are times when the characters are like legit having concerns, and you expect them to react a certain way, and then they fucking grow. And that's a really efficient. Yeah. That's an efficient way of doing a modern show.
Yeah. Speaking of my experience watching that first season, because they made the first episode kind of a 3-parter combined into one. Kind of like, you do back in the day when you found like a VHS with like the first 3 episodes of a show combined into like a movie, quote unquote.
Like Gargoyles did, yeah.
Yeah, even stuff like DuckTales. I think Dark Reduct did too. My favorite Disney afternoon show. I still need to watch Gargoyles, I admit. But I was going to say, so that first episode, I was into it. I was like, this is exciting. This is intense. This is imaginative. This is the characters are playing off each other well. And then I think I remember thinking the second and third episodes of that after that felt like a big step down. That's when they went to a lot of downtime, and they were like, hey, we're going to bond with the natives. We're getting to know this place a little more and try this wacky food. And I was like, you're kind of losing a lot of the best elements of this show, but I'm going to keep with it. And then my patience was rewarded because they do the thing of the castle getting taken over by that.
The writers are really aware of this, how fast you can lose, and you can lose momentum if you decide to just quickly do a goofy episode.
Yeah.
So they were like, look, this is not just for shits and giggles. They really do need to work as a team because shit's about to go down in a second. Yeah, and it does.
There's a lot of fake filler episodes where it seems like it's going to be filler.
Yeah.
Then by the end, like some shit's really going down, and you're like, whoa.
Which is smart.
I didn't know I was going to get this serious.
Yeah, they often tie it back to like consequences and loss to some degree. I can still tell like they have to avoid head-on death as much as they can, really. Like most of the drones are robots. Like characters like the King, like they died way before the series started. But I know that I do believe that some of the villains and stuff do die later. And we're going to be talking season 2 a little bit too, even though I haven't seen it. So you might be able to touch on that as well.
They do a really good job of making it seem like they could die, which is really hard to do in a kids show.
They do a good job of establishing that these guys, even though they're able to walk away from each fight, they are learning.
And what they're doing is dangerous. Like
the season 1 finale, Zarkon goes out into space to take on Shiro, because that's part of Shiro's vulnerability, is that he was basically experimented on and tortured by these guys, and it's still fucking with him. He's still remembering it, and they still have some influence over him. And at that point, not Lance, Keith sees Zarkon. I was like, he decides to take him head on. I was like, if I kill him, I can put.
I love that scene.
Yeah, he's like, if I kill him, I can put an end to this conflict. I know there's risks. Like Coran is telling him, like, do not do that. You will not survive this. And as you'd expect, Zarkon fucking wipes the floor with him. You cannot land a hit.
That's actually one of my favorite things about Keith.
Yeah, okay.
How, he'll be locked in a room and they'll be like, Keith, you need to leave. He's like, I'm going to fight this guy.
It is funny how he has more of a composure than characters like Honk or Lance, but he can also be very headstrong compared to someone like Shiro, who's like a veteran.
This show is really good about playing on the insecurities of, I don't want to say every character, but at least the characters who have them the most.
Yeah, I got to say, one of my biggest complaints with season 1, and I'm guessing they definitely address it, I feel like Keith was the only one who didn't really have any sort of subplot going on at some point.
Oh, dude.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
The next few seasons are all about that.
All right,
yeah, you'll get a lot of Keith, like a lot more.
Yeah, because I think something fun is how their different subplots go with each other, which is that, Pidge, let's talk the twist there. For the first time, Pidge is a female. But it's not revealed for a little while, and you find out there's a reason for that. She was trying, some of the prisoners were her dad and brother, and she was kind of banned from this one place for trying to find the hidden info on it. So she disguises herself, dresses in drag, and tries to find it then. And I just also love the fact that they leave some breadcrumbs for people to figure out before they start to spell it out, where they're showing each other's thoughts, and you see what looks like Pidge, like a little smaller girl that looks like him, and they're like, Pidge, stop looking at your girlfriend. No,
I also like that in the first episode or two, Honk is reading Pidge's journal or diary or whatever, and when I watched it at first, I thought that was strange because, I mean, sure, guys keep journals and stuff, but why would a guy be super protective of that? Protective of their journal. I mean, and that's coming from my point of view, my stupid dumbass male.
Yeah, there are a few scattered moments of that where you can tell Pidge is being kind of elusive about certain things. Like they're saying, you need to open up about yourself. He's like, I don't want to. I'm tired. But I also love the fact that by the time he formally reveals it, Lance is the only one who's surprised because it's Lance, of course.
Yeah. And a couple people were like, well, how does Hunk, the stupid one, figure it out before Lance? And I'm like, because Lance read her journl or her diary.
No, Hunk read the journal.
I'm sorry, Hunk. Yeah, Hunk
Lance
read her.
Was being typical dumb. Does Lance man up throughout the series? Does he grow?
It's a little later though.
Yeah,
okay, because
he got a ways to go though.
He is. I kind of get the vibe that not even the other characters like him very much. He is.
I definitely like Lance because he's usually. I love odd man out characters. I've always loved. I mean, people are really quick to refer to him as the Sokka of the group, and I do really.
Sokka was more of a full on asshole.
Yeah,
I don't think Sokka's a jerk.
A jerk. Lance is a fucking asshole. But at the same time, I do dig that because he's not as headstrong as the other characters, and I can kind of. He's a
wimp sometimes.
Totally a wimp, but I'm sorry, headstrong is the wrong word for it. He's very stubborn when it comes to that. But Keith is also super fucking stubborn. Sometimes more stubborn than Lance.
Yeah, we talked about that Zarkon part where you're going to die. It's like, I don't care, I'm gonna do this, and he gets fucked up.
Yeah, but what I do like about the series is that it, even though Lance is my favorite character. lot of focus on Shiro and Keith. Like,
yeah,
their
season one
entire...
is a lot of Shiro stuff because they definitely established like we're gonna give you what's going on with him piecemeal because he's amnesiac about his time there and it's coming back to him gradually. You realize that the pull some of these villains have on him because of that and the power like with his robot hand.
And there's entire fandoms like surrounding.
Oh,
Keith.
the season 2 premiere is there's a lot of Keith and Shiro like. There's a total bromance there, like showing how much they care for each other.
Yeah,
I'm guessing if you search like pairings and fan art, it's mostly of the guys.
I'm going to touch on this. I'm going to touch on this really quick. I'm sorry, Ben. I don't want to interrupt you though. Did you have something to?
Oh no, I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay. So apparently there are 2 squads to the Voltron series. There is the Shiro and Keith squad, and there is the Keith and Lance squad.
So it's Team Shiro, Team Lance.
Not exactly.
Well, there's a Sheath and there's a Clance. I think that's the appropriate
Sheath
term.
Versus Clance. Yeah, that sounds right.
Romanticize them being together. Now, the show hasn't exactly said exactly what it's trying to do with those pairings, but the show is pretty blatant. It's Keith and Shiro. It really is. I mean, you're in season you're in season 1 at the moment. But
I watched. I watched the season 2 premiere, and that gave me the heaviest vibes when they're like chilling with a fire together.
It's definitely those 2.
Like if the series finale has them doing like a Coran and Sami holding hands, I'm gonna be like, there you go.
There's no expense like where its favoritism lies, and I think the show's better off for that because it can honestly. There's only so much you can do with Lance. I have to be perfectly honest.
I do not get the vibe of Keith liking Lance from what I've seen, but maybe they grow, and
they do grow. That
I feel like Lance would need to grow for any of them to be into him like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like there's a lot that goes on between Keith and Shiro that it's pretty obvious, honestly. Like if you're any fan of like decent logical writing. That you can't ignore that.
Okay, and I did want to touch on real quick because you know me, some of the voice actors in this show, some of them I was unfamiliar with, like Pidge or Katie's voice and Coran. But I wrote down maybe the funniest one. Do you know who voices Lance?
Who voices Lance?
No.
Jeremy Shada, Finn from Adventure Time.
Oh wow.
Yep, that is Finn. I can totally hear him now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like
it's funny because I only watched the first season of Adventure Time, so I still associate it with before his balls dropped. Same thing with Steven Universe because we haven't gotten to Steven's voice actor growing up.
I can totally hear Finn now. Wow.
Yep. And Shiro is voiced by, I actually mentioned this, Josh Keaton, who has done a lot of here and there roles. And I think I remember telling you before if I was to pick a regular voice actor for Jed and Spacious, it would probably be him because he's played more Lance-ish characters in the past.
Your series, yeah.
Hunk is played by Tyler Labine, who's not a big name, but he was one of the leads in a very fun kind of cult horror comedy, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. You ever see that?
I have seen that. That's a pretty great movie, actually.
He's the chubby bearded one. I don't remember which one's Tucker, which one's Dale. The other one's Alan Tudyk. And he had small roles and stuff like Planet of the Apes too. He's a fun actor.
That's all Serena about.
And okay, you should talk about this next one. Do you know who voices Allura?
Oh, she knows. She knows who voices.
Okay, Ben, do you know?
I have no idea.
Her name's Kimberly Brooks. I know her for anybody who's played the original Mass Effect games. She's Ashley, one of your main squad members. And more recently, she is Jasper in Steven Universe.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, and a lot of smaller roles, but I know her for... Well, I've not watched the Jasper episodes yet, but I know her for Ashley and Allura.
Go ahead. The reason I know that, the reason I know that Serena knows that, isn't because we like Steven Universe, or isn't just because of that. It's because Serena goddamn loves Voltron. Like this series, yeah. This show is. Like, it has a massive following.
It does. The Tumblr crowds.
Like I said, I didn't expect to, have my heart stolen by this show. Like, I
thought it was going to be good, but it's even better than I expected.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still not on the level of Avatar and Korra, because I will say my biggest complaint is I feel like the humor can be a lot more hit and miss in those shows. When they go for some of the kookier moments, it doesn't always land. But they have a lot of moments that work too. And it's kind of the same thing I said about when I did a guest appearance on Generation Mission, talk about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, I generally don't like the humor in that show, but everything else is so damn good that that's not enough to make me dislike it.
My minor nitpick is I don't like the transformation sequence. Like, I kind of get used to it, but
it's like any transformation sequence. The more they reuse it, the less interesting it is.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like even if I forgive the 3D, it's still like,
I think it looks pretty good.
This leg goes in here and that leg goes there, and then there's an arm and there's an arm, and that's Voltron.
Have you seen the original where they're all yelling, "I will be the leg, and I will form the head"?
Like, super robot bias from watching like too much Gurren Lagann or something.
But you know what? I have to admit on that one, I was never a big Voltron fan, but now that I've seen like Power Rangers, Gundam, Gurren Lagann, which has amazing juicy transformation scenes.
Juicy.
Yeah, they're like when I say juicy, people
explode when that robot transforms.
People salivate for that robot to transform. Like, no joke. And it's a lot has to do with how the characters relate to the robot. Mm-hmm. And I get those vibes here. I get with how the characters kind of
they do touch on that
stick with the robot.
They do touch on that the lions are sentient somewhat and bonding with the pilots.
But I don't get I don't get character from these robots. I don't get personality.
No, they don't have individual quirks to themselves, really.
Yeah, you're on Lagann where the robot itself had a good amount of personality. Even with Power Rangers, you kind of felt like they had just a little bit of personality, but only so much as how you felt towards that specific ranger.
Yeah, well, the Power Rangers thing is one thing I even bugged me as a kid was that they never had the individual animal Zords fight. It was always Megazord, and they were just there to transform. Outside the movies,
sometimes, but not.
You know what? There is one thing I noticed though in one episode is that they were fighting. I think they were fighting a roe beast, and I don't even remember what season this was. But it's not a spoiler. But there's one where they're fighting a roe beast, and like he's directly in front of them, and they're like, "Guys, we have to make time to transform. Like the robot's not going to wait for them to transform, or the monster's not going to wait for them to transform. He's not going to patiently like wait for the transformation sequence.
He's not as polite as a Power Ranger monster."
Yeah. I thought that was like a cool little nod. That like a lot of the fight scene was them just trying to buy time so they can transform.
You just reminded me, like the only time Power Rangers did something clever in the series finale of that Alien Rangers miniseries, which that is a bad miniseries. Just skip to Zeo. But the end, like the Shogun Zord, they start doing the sword move, that always kills it, and the monster grabs the sword and goes, "Nope."
I don't remember that. I have to see that.
I wish they did stuff like that more often in Power Rangers because it made me laugh.
You don't get the win like that this time.
I have to admit that the cast and the writers behind Voltron, like they have a good idea of what came before, so they're able to they're able to do some subversion there.
Yes, but also, we talked about they're able to expand upon what was genuinely good about it, what did appeal to people.
But to go to Ben's point, personally, I also don't feel the transformation. It looks neat and it looks cool.
Yeah,
but
like it's fine, but I kind of want it to be like super over the top and
more flair to it.
I don't feel like, whoa, there's no volcanoes exploding like behind it.
Part of that might be the fact that it's CG, because if you do a hand-drawn, like in Gurren Lagann, you can get more extreme poses and stuff from it, like perspective and angle, messing with that kind of stuff. So it's hard to do that with these. They could, but it would take a lot of effort.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they kind of would like break the model every now and then. I'm not sure how technical they would get into it.
Like stretch it out and stuff. And
I do want, Also, we've talked about the main group a lot. I do want to talk about some of the other characters. Like, I feel like the villains, even though they aren't deep, like I like the fact that these guys are so no nonsense. Like, they feel like a legit threat. Like, they're not clowning around or anything.
Ben, did you want to talk to the villains a little bit?
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like they were a legitimate threat, and I like I like how even like when they go off on different planets, like there's still the danger that they could just show up, or, like their presence is there, and they have like
finale I was talking about. I was so surprised that Zarkon actually just went out on his own in space, because he's a regular sized alien for the most part, and I was like, that's risky. But then you realize how much he knows his shit, and like he is not even emoting during this fight. Like, he has a cool voice too. I didn't recognize the actor, but he's like, it's very deep and intimidating. I gotta say, his design and some of the interior designs gave me a Halo vibe. I don't know if you guys have played that or familiar with that series at all, and I'm only passively familiar, but he looks straight out of the Covenant.
I played it like long ago, but not enough to.
He would fit in among those like main alien enemies, the like the higher ups of them, and some of the like the ship interiors and designs too. Very very fun, good job with the designs of the technology. There's a bit.
Your favorite villain so far, guys?
You go, Ben. You've seen more of it.
I mean, I really do. I like Zarkon.
He's like cool.
That scene where he jumps out into space to fight Keith.
Yeah,
like that was like, whoa! Like he's not in a robot. You're not in a robot, dude. Like, what are you doing? And then
kicking ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they hadn't shown him that much up to that point, but that was there to show you what a force he on his own is.
I also really like Hagar too, though. I sort of liked.
Which one was Hagar?
The witch.
Oh yes, Cree Summer.
Yeah, which is crazy.
She's creepy, and like in the finale, she is like playing mind games with Shiro. Like she can influence your psyche if she gets her way.
She is legit my favorite.
Okay, yeah, she's a cool one. And yeah, they're like the side generals. They have some good plot moments with them, but they're not super amazing characters or anything. I guess if it counts, I liked the villains kind of. If an iffy term. In the first season, the guys doing the SOS signals, those two aliens who seem nice, and it's not even like they're pure on malicious. It's that Zarkon is so dangerous. They're like, if we give him one of the lions, we'll get a pardon for life from these guys. And at the end, like I think the Voltron guys realize the problem, so they just strand them again instead of like imprisoning them. And he even says something like, "I hope you beat them." Also, crazy thing. Do you know who voiced those two?
Who?
This is the last time I'll get into the voice things, other than reading that Weird Al is somewhere in the second season.
Whoa.
The girl was Lacey Chabert, who I brought up before. Liza Thornberry, she was in Mean Girls, Princess Elise, and Sonic 06. Oh, no, the crazy one is the guy alien was Norman Reedus.
What? I did hear about that. Yeah.
It
is Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus.
That's crazy.
I was like, that's a cool voice. Who is it? Oh, my God. They have some guest stars like that occasionally. I think Paul Rubens is in an episode.
There's one.
Go ahead.
Those two specific characters. Something about them, like
I like their designs.
Their designs.
Yeah, they're definitely really cool looking.
Yeah, they ooze Studio Trigger.
They felt more anime influenced. And it was fun that half the episode was Lance macking on the girl. There's a lot of them falling for non-humanoid aliens. Like I thought it was adorable that Hunk was really into the Shay, that like tunnel dwelling alien the first season.
Yeah.
And she was lovable, so I get it. And I love the fact that they make that whole little, because you can kind of see like each battle is kind of like a 2 or 3 episode arc depending on things. Like Pidge trying to get the castle back, them going to this planet to get the crystals and save the guys, and like how they take it, how they play with the idea that the planet's alive. So like how it can help them, how they can stop it from dying, how like trying to be a distraction with this monster won't work because if it misses them and hits the ground, it kills the planet more. So much of they can go for episodes at a time where it's this kind of constant action, but it doesn't feel tiring because they're constantly throwing good curveballs at you.
They definitely know how to stretch
their length.
Yeah, without it being like a Dragon Ball episode where it's like 5 minutes Namek.
Oh my
God, that's infamous. 5 minutes, 10 episodes later.
3 weeks later. Do you know
I just mean
know what a minute is?
I'm not even talking about like disingenuous like time spans. I'm talking about just keeping your interest. Like I always think of. Did you see the Hobbit movies? Either of you?
I haven't. No.
Chris?
See the Hobbit movies. I've seen all 3 of them, and I like the second one for a completely subjective reasons, but not because it's good.
I really liked that first one, but it got worse each one. That third one was a slog. Like, I was so upset. Like, man, it's going to be all this fight, and then like half the movie is fighting, but without enough to keep you invested in it. That's what I'm talking about. The fact that Voltron, this show, and with a smaller budget too, has enough creativity and awareness to keep its pacing and your investment good with a long action. Like, hats off to those guys.
One of the things I really like is that they can keep my attention when they're just in lion form.
Yeah.
Like a couple episodes earlier, I was like, whenever they would separate, I'd be like, oh man. I've really grown to like when they separate and then they have to do it as the lions.
Yeah, because their individual actions often still reflect their personalities and differing, motives.
Yeah, and it's not just like spamming the robot, your strongest form.
No, they probably did when it's Voltron, make it feel special.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, now shit's going to hit the fan that we got Voltron itself. And we haven't mentioned, is it Coran? Coran?
And Coran!
Oh, yes. Quintessence.
The sacred Muslim text.
Coran, the handsome man. Or I forget
first season, he was not gelling with me that much, but I gotta say, and I mean, probably it's not representative of the rest of the show, that season 2 opening in the wormhole, do you guys remember what they did with him?
He aged.
It's such a funny idea. It's like the cliffhanger of the first season, they're doing a wormhole, warp, but the witch hits it with her magic, and so the lions get zapped off to random parts of the universe, and Allura and Coran are stuck in this ship in a space-time loop, basically. So what happens is every time the loop starts, Coran is a couple of years. It messes with reality. So Coran's a couple of years younger. The mice her pet mice are totally different random animals, and Allura is fine and the only one who remembers. And so she's like reciting, like, yeah, I know you're going to say that, Coran, but the fact that they have so much fun with the different Corans, like at one point he is like a hunky kind of space dandy type. Like full on like glitter, and he's still talking normally, but like, oh my god, he's doing like a different pose he's doing a Mr. Crocker-esque pose every half second.
My favorite was when he turned into the emo teen.
That's the best one, because it starts out wormhole and like, you can't, no, shut up, you don't understand me, nobody understands me.
You don't understand me at all. You have no idea what I'm going through. I'll be in my control area.
Blaring
I also love that when he was a baby, he still had the stash.
He had the mustache his entire life. Like, when he's like 5, he still has it, and when he's a baby, it's on his forehead. Like, are we to assume that the mustache moved down to his face as he grew up? I guess. Yeah. And she even says something like, oh, after the next loop, you'll cease to exist. All that will be left is your mustache. I don't know if they do more crazy stuff with Coran like that. But I also, they have some moments to establish he can kind of hold his own when necessary. Like, as goofy as he is, like him piloting the castle as like a warship, kind of like, oh, you're all right, Coran.
Definitely useful. And there are times when, like you said, not every joke lands.
I feel like he's the most guilty of the misses for me.
Yeah.
Lance.
Yeah, he definitely had to grow on me.
Lance is neck and neck, I guess. Hunk sometimes, but Hunk's too lovable for me to stay mad at him.
Oh, Hunk's just a fucking adorable, sweet
he means
boy.
well. He's just a klutz.
There was what episode? There's one particular line in the first episode where he is freaking out, and he's like, "Is this the time for me to panic? It's too late. I'm already panicking." And that shit had me rolling.
Doesn't he like throw up 5 times in the first episode?
He throws up a lot.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's already crying and he's talking about how much he's crying.
Yeah, I'll be real. That would be me in that situation.
That got me. And I get that Hunk is he's kind of the meta guy where they just throw all the meta stuff to him. And
he's the one who he and Lance are often the ones pointing out how absurd like a certain thing is.
Super cute, and again, not every one of those meta jokes land. There was an episode where Hunk called something. He knew like those two trigger designed guys, bad guys. He knew they were bad guys and they were not to be trusted.
Was the one.
Yeah, I do remember that. He called it from the beginning.
During the sequence when everyone is like going to their alliance, he is just bitching the entire time. And there's like a full minute of just him bitching, like full Rick and Morty bitching. And I'm like, oh my God. It is super
all right, Lord. No, I don't think you should trust these guys because they seem shady.
I'm saying like that long tangent where he's just like, look, I knew this would happen. I told no one listens to Hunk. I'm just going.
Yeah, it turns into a ramble.
And I'm like, that's brilliant, guys. This is fucking brilliant.
Pretty good, yeah. And I'm trying to see if I have any other notes here. I feel like a lot of the stuff I've brought up is from my list. You guys can say, if you have other stuff you want to say, go for it.
Ben, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. If there are any kind of improvements that you would make to the show, or rather, would make to the show either as a viewer or as a creator yourself. And I know that's super pedantic and super egotistical for me to even suggest. But if what would they be if you could make changes to the show?
Well, I mean, I said this before. I'm not a super big fan of the 3D. It's not terrible, but
it can be distracting.
Yeah, and it's not so bad when they're in lion form. But I feel like
Voltron itself.
I feel like at least I've seen situations where they'll have a 3D cell shaded model, and then for certain shots they'll switch it out and have a 2D one. I
don't think they do that in this.
Well, I mean, no, I don't mean specifically in this. I just mean
in other shows,
in other shows with really detailed robots or machinery or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see. I would have liked to see more
if it's it's like a slower scene, just has some 2D lions slightly moving.
Yeah, because it generally looks pretty good, but there are some where looks super.
If they're having to interact with the pilots, sitting on them or something, or standing next to them, it's a little strange.
Yeah, and then also the transformation sequence, and maybe not so many of those. There aren't too many filler episodes, but there are a couple in the later seasons, and especially season 4. That was kind of my least favorite season because I feel like there was a lot of there wasn't a lot of progression as far as the plot.
Okay,
I heard about that in season 4. It was kind of stagnant.
Yeah, and then at the end of season 3, you are hungry for episodes, and you get them, but they're kind of nothing really happens.
Okay. Do we know if season 5 is going to be more progressing it, or is that not known yet?
Because season 3 ends off on season 2 ends off on it's weird because the first 3 seasons have great cliffhangers.
Yeah.
No joke. You thought cliffhanger 1 was bad. Holy shit, you're gonna have a good time, John, in season 2's cliffhanger.
Well, at least I can jump straight to the next seasons. But actually, that was the other thing I wanted to bring up is kind of the unorthodox way they've been handling seasons past the second one. Because typically cartoon seasons are, on average, 13 episodes, sometimes 26 if it's a show they're really confident in. And so season 1 came out, and I'm glad I waited to binge because that was a brutal cliffhanger. And I guess season 2 is something too. But from season 3 onward, there are kind of more half seasons in length. It's 6 or 7 episodes instead of 13. And
those weren't. I don't think people that wasn't genuinely well liked. I know people were were really hungry for more seasons, but not in a way where
it feels truncated.
Yeah, I would agree with it.
I mean, the upside is because I remember before I knew about this, every time I saw an announcement season 3 out, season 4, it's how are they getting these all out so quick? They must be churning out. It's no, they're cutting the season lengths in half so they can get that half out sooner than the other. And I guess but because I just remember people having issues with the long waits in between Avatar and Korra seasons, and even those, I think seasons 2 and 3 of Avatar had ended up with a couple episode chunks and then breaks in between, and maybe that's just a result of how Studio Mir handles their production.
Yeah, well, I mean, coming from experience, Netflix has very aggressive schedules. So, and it's kind of weird because you can think that since you can watch these shows anytime you like, that there'll be a little bit more breathing room between seasons.
Nope.
No, it's they're very. It's it's very tense scheduling. That's definitely for sure. So I kind of get why they did that, but I kind of wish they wouldn't. I kind of wish they played it patiently.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the same thing with video games. I'd rather wait for higher quality than just to have a release.
Yeah, I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan, and I hope they do like every 2 or 3 years, like they did with Origins. Annualization hurts like the variety of that series.
Yeah, I'd rather get like the full thing instead of like, here's Street Fighter with no arcade mode or something.
That was, I think, even Capcom knows that was. Well, I'm hearing they just patched the arcade stuff in, and now it feels like it should have. People are saying like it's great now.
It's done now.
Yeah, but I think that was them experimenting with like, well, Steam's done early access. Will that work for Street Fighter? Nope.
Yes, I kind of feel the same way. I'd rather wait for like, because I feel
if the plus side is you can wait for 2 seasons to be out and then just binge that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's tempting probably to dive in early.
Yeah, I can't resist because I didn't even know there was going to be a 5th season. I just happened to come on.
I did read on Wikipedia they have confirmed they have ordered 78 total episodes, and I want to say they are probably only halfway through that.
Wow.
So there's a lot left to go, and hopefully they do not decide to do a cancellation before that, because this is a very ongoing story kind of thing. So it would suck for it to get cut off.
Oh, judging by how popular this show is,
I know, but
the crew, like the cast and crew has to massively fuck up in order for it to be
or the studios behind it. Like this is a throwback. Do you know why Invader Zim got canceled?
I feel like I did, but don't remember why.
It was a very popular show. I was among it. I loved that show. Got a lot of views, but here's the thing: because of the goth element and just how twisted that show was, a lot of the viewers weren't kids; they were teens and young adults. And Nickelodeon was like, "Yeah, they're viewers, but they're not the viewers we want. They're not going to come back to our other shows. So if we just look at the kids, that's not enough. We're pulling the plug."
Well, I don't think Netflix.
Yeah, I don't know what the demographic is total for Voltron, and I don't know if Netflix has the same mindset. I think they're like views. That's streaming views or views, because anybody can do that.
I think as long as they got your subscription.
As long as they got your subscription money and the stats of people watching, I guess. I'm pretty confident this will reach its end unless like later seasons have such a drop in quality, which hopefully they won't. I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, there has to be a massive screw up either on a personal end of the team members or just in production quality as a whole.
If you ever hear that like writers and directors are leaving, then that can be a big issue. As far as I'm aware, that has not happened yet.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with it though.
I almost everything we've talked about here has been very positive. I think we've talked about issues with the humor and some of the CG elements or transformation, but this show as a whole, it is strong. When it is just doing that full on action, which is most of this show, and still being able to pull some character moments in between, I'm like, this is captivating. This is. I've heard people bring up like you don't really see shows like this very often anymore. The ones that like throw action cartoons, and we really mean that action classification. And of course, Avatar and Korra were shows that were very good at that as well, which is why I was like, I was hopeful for this when. Before I watched it, but when those details of who was involved in its making came out, I was like, this has a very good chance of working, and it is, not just from our point of view, but apparently from, DreamWorks and Netflix, they've been promoting the show pretty hard. I know there's like a tie-in comic, probably some merchandise. I think they did like, it could make a good video game in the right hands, like someone like Platinum or something.
They're definitely making a video game.
There is a VR game out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I would love a conventional like action adventure type. We'll see what happens there.
My issues with Avatar and Korra usually were in plot development department.
Really?
Specifically with Korra, I didn't have them. With Avatar, I was a little less.
Korra is the more problematic of the two shows, and I still think it's fantastic.
I had fewer issues with Avatar, and I had more issues with Korra. But when it came down to Voltron, knowing that Studio Mir was handling it,
and some of the same writers and producers,
I'm not getting. There are a few things that I'm not liking as far as story development is concerned, but I can. It's not that huge a deal for me as it was in the.
My main gripe, writing wise, is I just wish it was overall funnier, because I feel like Avatar and Korra had a better hit ratio, but it's not so bad that it's affecting the rest of it, and these are still great characters, still great plots, still great action, great animation. It's cool to have like an anime inspired show that actually captures those vibes.
Yeah, and I feel like that for the issues that were in Avatar and in Korra, where as far as the romance department, like they're playing the writers are playing it very coy and
they're still not spelling out for you who's going to be with who.
That's a bit of a detriment to some degree because like the fandoms. The Sheath and the Clans, they're always butting heads.
Yep, someone's going to be disappointed by it at the end. It's going to be Zutara all over again.
Look it up. It's someone's going to be super disappointed, and I'm pretty sure I know who it is. But at the same time, like I still think that it's to this show's strength because it doesn't necessarily. I felt like some of the romantic elements felt very forced in the last in Avatar and Korra. It doesn't feel that way in this show.
That's good. Because they're giving a lot of time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like an action show actually committing to being an action show and not feeling like, well, let's throw in a romance and let's.
Yeah, like Coran tries to cram too much romance into too short of a time a lot.
Yeah, that was one of my problems too, where like it's a female lead, so we better throw some romance in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was like, you don't really have to do that. Can you just make all the characters likable?
More.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I feel like they kind of realized, I've been talking about, like, I've only seen the first season and a half of Korra, but I know, like, there were a lot of complaints about how they handled the Mako Korra stuff. So, like, 3 episodes into season 2, they break up.
Yeah. And even that wasn't very well, wasn't handled very well.
Yeah. We can do an Avatar Korra episode another day, I think.
What I'm noting is that there have been definite improvements in that
in that regard, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we're kind of winding this down, but if it didn't clear, all 3 of us definitely recommend this, and if you have a Netflix account, you don't have to pay anything extra for it, so load it up on whatever device you have that can support Netflix, which I'm sure is at least one. If you're listening to us, you have a device that can do it. Any other things that either of you would like to say about this show?
I don't know. I could talk more about Keith, maybe. I love how... What? Yeah, I love how he gets, like... There's this thing in, like, I don't know if you guys used to watch original Teen Titans.
Yeah.
But, like, they used to do this thing where Robin would get, like, a scene of the episode. And I used to be like, this is Robin's cool scene of the episode. Mm-hmm. Where he, like, has a big fight scene or something. And I feel like they did that with Keith for a lot of episodes.
Okay, yeah.
And it's kind of like the reason he's my favorite character is really superficial because he has a sword and he fights guys.
I feel like if we're just going by the first season, then Keith is tied with Lance as my least favorite just because... Now, Lance is because he's an asshole, and Keith it is because he does not have any little subplots, really, more individual moments. So I feel like I'm not getting the vibe of this character growing or what he's about, like without the focus. But, I heard you, Chris. There's going to be a lot... They addressed that to a major degree. So I honestly would like to revisit this show in the future once there's more of it and once, I'm also caught up because I am going to be watching more of it after this is recorded. It's great. Chris, any other closing thoughts or additional things about this?
Like, I think I've geeked out about this show enough. And I'm not even the right person to geek out about it. Like I said, like, well, I mean, I told you that, Serena's really big in Dragon Ball. Yeah. She's really big in Voltron. Like, no joke.
Do you typically have, like, polar opposite interests in cartoons?
Really? I mean, I like Voltron a lot, and I think it's a pretty strong show. Okay. Serena draws fan art of this show a lot, so it's like
Let me ask, how much of it is slash drawings?
Tell you offline.
Okay, because I know that's what got her into Yuri on Ice, all the cute boys.
Yeah, it's and Yuri on Ice. I don't see her drawing Yuri on Ice. I see her drawing Voltron.
That's one. I know that's one. You were very enthusiastic about it, closer to her level. I got the vibe.
And I thought that nothing could top that. I was wrong.
Was she ever into that show Free? The swimming show?
Oh, she was not into Free.
That
which
seemed
is strange.
That seemed like the most obvious, like, man, I would be less uncomfortable with fan service in anime if it felt more equal opportunity. Like, for every one male focused show, there's 500 girl ones. Feels a little skeezy.
That's not how it works. I'm sad to say.
Yeah, thanks,
but that's this show's pretty damn strong, and I like the designs, and
it's a culmination of all the things that they've learned, not only from Avatar and Korra, but also from like all the previous Voltron installments, and even as far as like action shows go.
I mean,
like,
I get the vibe from what I've read. They mainly drew from the original.
Like, I think that's amazing because I never liked the original. I feel like it's an amazing feat to get me to be this big of a fan.
It is. You know what? I think like, and maybe the Japanese version of the original is okay because, like I said, they modified a lot, not just dubbing it. But the dub of Ultron is often, from what I've seen, it's funny. Like, it's so over the top and bad, it's funny. And I know I can't go an episode without mentioning these guys. Generation Animation, one of their earliest episodes was watching some of Voltron for the first time, and they had a ball with it. Like, at one point, one of them starts just doing Sven's voice for like half a minute, and everybody's just howling over that stupid, they have a terrible plan, ugly birds.
They have a new plan, and you must make sure that you get all of the lions together, because it's so bad for you. It's not an evil plan.
Oh boy, Sven.
He's in the new show, right?
Yes, he is.
I googled him, and like there is a version. Like they bring in more. Almost all the main and supporting characters are from the original, and they bring in more past that.
If they only took from the first original show,
I think they did.
On them, because they don't need all that other. They don't need them other ones. I'm looking at pictures of Voltron Force. Holy shit! Don't.
No, Chris. I want you to look up pictures of Voltron: The Third Dimension. I want to hear your reaction to some of those.
Okay,
faces.
so that was like one of the last shows I set my alarm to watch. Mm-hmm. It came on at like 6 a.m. or something.
Apparently, Tim Curry did a voice in it.
And I think I remember being really into it at the time.
The writings might be good, but the visuals have aged like cheese in the desert. You saw it?
I remember they did a lot of Matrix bullet time effects because it was 3D.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Let it haunt your nightmares.
Oh, sweet Jesus! Oh no!
Chris, how would you like it if the thumbnail of this episode instead of this show was a bunch of faces from that?
Even Voltron looks terrible. How do you give? Oh no!
Oh, I'm so glad I told him to look this up. So we'll end on this note of Chris being scarred for life. He's still going.
Sweet Jesus! Oh no!
So I want to thank Ben. I want to thank Ben both for agreeing to be on the show and for a great pick like this. It was also fun hearing you talk about carbon. What's the full name again?
Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon. I can't remember if the carbon is the first or second word. I will be checking that out. It was fun for all three of us to talk Dragon Ball FighterZ and a bit of Dragon Ball in general. And this was just a great show to pick. I'm glad you finally motivated me to watch this thing because I will be watching quite a bit more of it in the future. And I think I'd probably pick it as a revisit someday. And if you want to rejoin us, you're welcome to for that or for other stuff.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, this was a blast. So just for people wondering, we do have our next 2 episodes laid out. And since we've had a little gap, so I'll let you guys know now. Now, originally, I had mentioned our Christmas episode. Chris had picked. This is going to be Chris's first pick in some time because of his hiatus. He had originally said, let's do the movie Coraline, which I was all for. But he's given it some more thought, and we're going to expand it a bit to talk all the movies by Leica Studio. So that will be Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls, and Kubo and the Two Strings, which we've touched on a bit in the past. That'll be interesting to talk about because I feel like I love that studio and all their movies. I like all of them to varying degrees, and they all bring some very cool, unique stuff. Also, because the movie will be out by that point we record, and because we've been doing it with we did it with both Spider-Man and Thor, you can fully expect us to give our spoiler-filled thoughts on Black Panther. Very, very excited for that. I think, Chris, you and Katrina already have your tickets. Chris?
Still here. We absolutely do have our tickets.
Are you still looking at Voltron Third Dimension?
Mouth is where his chin should be.
Chris,
Holy
stop hurting yourself.
Oh my god.
You should watch a full episode.
Oh, I tried watching some on YouTube, and I was like, I don't want to look at this.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it since the fateful day.
It has not aged well visually. It is not.
It doesn't. Oh, okay. Okay, yes, we're going to talk about Laika
and Black Panther. And after that, I'm going to get this out because I teased it a while ago. So that'll be episode 24. Then we're going to hit episode 25. And I feel like for each, 25, 50, 75, 100, assuming we go that long, which I'd like to, we should do something special. And I'd run this by Chris before. So we are going to do another movie review, one that I have touched on previously in our emotional moments episode, my favorite anime film of all time. And now that Chris has seen it, I know it is quite high on his list as well. We're going to talk the first Studio Ghibli movie, Lapida Castle in the Sky.
That's going to be great.
I cannot wait to delve into one of my favorite movies ever, and one that feels a little underrated in the Ghibli pantheon. So it'll be great.
Magical ride.
It'll be great to give it some more exposure and talk about Mark Hamill and anime Jim Cummings. The one time Jim Cummings is in an anime. I'm on other people. Cloris Leachman steals every scene she's in. She's wonderful in it. So yeah, that will do it for episode 23. So again, if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter and Facebook under the username SketchWatchPlay. You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, DeviantArt, Newgrounds, YouTube, at BEHONKISS, Behonkus. I would say the Twitter, YouTube, and Tumblr are the most active ones. Chris, where can people find you?
Find me on Facebook at Christopher Wade. You can also find me on Twitter at ChrisTopTheWade.
Yes, and I want to make it clear because I think some people have been confused. It's not Christoph the Wade. It's imagine Can't Stop the Wade, but you replace Can't with Chris.
Way to put it. Yes.
And again, Ben, people can find your. I know your Twitter is DaikonV, and people can search that anywhere. And again, what are the Curslash and Ninja?
Curslash and Ninja, and then also my game is called Tangerine.
Yes,
you can find that on rpg.net.
Yes, and you often post about these projects on your Twitter as well. That's a good way to, along with random drawings. So yeah, this has been a fun episode. It's funny. I told people I was telling you guys earlier. People say we shouldn't top over 2 hours, and we're just coming in just over 2 hours. It'll probably be less when I edit too. So I am John Fleury.
I'm Christopher Wade.
I'm Ben Reynolds.
And let's all Google Voltron the Third Dimension and have the same breakdown as Chris.
Please don't. Save yourselves! Save yourselves!
You'll be a changed man or person, and not in a good way. Good night, everybody.
No!